So your board games have all vanished.
If you were given £100, what would you spend it on to replace some of them?
So we got the idea for this video from a YouTube channel called Foster the Meeple. And if you're not subscribed to them, do so, because Jeff and Jamie are lovely and very funny. So yeah, to clarify, all of these have gone.
I mean, they've not been burned down or anything disastrous, right? It's just that somehow
they still exist.
Vanished.
We just no longer have.
So you have no games accessible to you.
None.
And you have a £100 budget to buy with what you will, to have for a collection for not forever, but for the foreseeable.
Eventually you'll be able to get more games, but it's enough to keep tide you over.
You can't buy one tomorrow, so.
No, so you've got to spend £100 now. So the rules we've come up with are, they've got to be games you can literally buy today. They can be on sale. In the UK. They can be on sale.
Yes, they can be on sale, but it has to be an actual game.
So it's not like an eBay seller or a small local seller who's putting bargains on.
No. It needs to be something that anyone watching the video could click on, go to a shop, buy. I mean, if they've got one copy left, that's not our fault. But
no, if they've sold out.
It doesn't include things like a BGA subscription. You can't do that and do all online gaming.
And if it involves a phone or an app, that can't be the main focus on. So you can't just get Scythe on an app.
No. And I know how you love to print and play.
No.
Does not count.
So we've got no computers.
There's no printer.
No.
No.
Because my initial thought was, great, I'll buy a really cheap tablet and then get a load of app games, but that would completely destroy the idea of this. So it has to be predominantly a tabletop experience.
Yes.
Shall I go first?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think if there's any more rules.
No, I think that's it.
Okay.
So my first pick was just over a third of my entire budget.
Ooh, I mean.
Yeah. I went for Jaws of the Lion because it's big and you're grinning. Why are you grinning?
I might have put it on my list. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, Jaws of the Lion will keep us amused for... It's 30 missions. Each one's taking... I think it's 30 missions.
Yeah.
So even if we played everything in there, each one's about 2 hours long, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less, so averaging 2 hours. That's a good 60 hours worth of keeping us amused while they replenish the world supply of board games. And it's really good. Not in a massive box, so yeah, I went for blowing a third of my budget on Jaws of the Lion, which I found the cheapest price I could find was $33.99.
It's a good price for that game.
It certainly is. If you haven't got Jaws of the Lion, go and buy it.
The first game I went for, I mean, I have gone for quite a few games that we actually own, but
we don't own them anymore. They've vanished. They've gone somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, imagine you can't see any of them. The first one I went for was Port Royale.
Okay.
It's a small card game. I think it's quite clever in that one side of the cards is sort of the action or the thing that you're collecting, and then the other side of it acts as the money, so you're able to finance and buy things. So the cards are double-sided. It's quite easy for travel, for coffee table gaming, things like that.
Yeah, it's a game. It's a gamey game. It's quite accessible if we manage to meet people in this board game apocalypse.
Yeah, it's only £7.46.
Bargain.
So it seemed like a good place to start.
Yeah, and if you had a bit more budget, you could have got the expansion, which makes it better.
Yes, but
we've only got £100.
Exactly.
I have gone for ultra tiny epic Galaxies. I spent a while looking at the different tiny epic games because they're big games, smaller and cheaper. I thought the ultra tiny ones, because they're cheaper, better value, wouldn't eat up as much of my budget.
Mm-hmm. It gives you a very similar experience.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something to be said for actual little rocket things that are a bit bigger and stuff like that. But
it's essentially the same game. It's a bit more fiddly. And so it's either Kingdoms or Galaxies, the only two ultra ones they did, and I prefer Galaxies.
I mean, spoiler warning, I have also put this one on. We should have probably actually communicated about our choices.
Yeah, we did it completely independently.
But I did have a look, and Kingdoms was considerably cheaper.
Yes.
I think it was £7. But I added Galaxies on $11.96. I also found it.
And you found it for that price.
Good findings. But I prefer that one.
Yeah.
So I did look at varying ultra tiny.
If they did all of them as ultra tiny, I wouldn't have got Galaxies. I would have got ultra tiny epic.
You would have got Quest, yeah.
Which is my favourite tiny epic game, but they don't.
Yeah, because there was quite a few of the sort of tiny epic, not ultra tiny epics, that I was looking at. I thought potentially the dinosaurs I could put in because if I wasn't going to put any of the dinosaur games in. But then I think about $23.95 or something like that, it just seemed like it was tipping over the budget a bit too much compared with what else I could get. So
what did you go for?
So I'll speak about this one now because we're covering it.
Okay.
So I have included ultra tiny epic Galaxies on my list as well at $11.96.
We should have communicated before because now we've got duplicates in our board game apocalypse. But
yeah,
hey ho, maybe
it's a problem.
I went for The Crew, Deep Sea Adventure, and I went for that for two reasons. One, it was only $10.95 and it's going to last. The Crew, the Deep Sea one, has more varied missions. It's much more flexible, and I think that one works a lot better with just two, which is...
Yeah, we quite enjoyed it.
It worked.
We've played it a couple of times.
I think it worked fine with two people.
Well, it had a third player put in.
Yeah, it's like an auto
You
mode.
choose for the third player, so yeah.
Yeah, it's. I think it's an adaptation of the game for two, but it worked perfectly well for us, and I enjoyed it. So that's why I went for that. And the cheapest I could find, $10.95.
Not a bad price.
So I am currently up to just over half the budget now.
Oh, you are. Gosh.
I've been a big spender.
You have. I have gone for a game that we haven't played, but we did add to our collection recently. I have added Magnastorm to the options.
Okay.
It was on for $12.95. It's a game that's made by the same people that make Terra Mystica, Gaia Project. It looks really interesting. It looks sort of a bit of a deeper game, and I think for that amount of money, it seemed like I couldn't not put it on the list. I'm hoping we're going to like it. I haven't actually tried it, but...
Yeah, I think it'll keep us, from what we've seen, it's got the similar tracks I've seen in Terra Mystica, and yeah, I think it'll keep us amused for a while.
I like that it's different player colours.
It is. It's not going to be confused with our other... Oh, they've all gone. Vanished. Next up, I went for Sprawlopolis. And this should be a lot cheaper than it was. I mean, we can't talk about print and plays, and the version we have is a print and play version. So we didn't pay $16.76 for it, but that was the cheapest I could actually find it because it's very hard to find. It's not in stock in a lot of places.
See, I looked for this also thinking I might add it onto the list, but I felt like $16.76 was too expensive for it to make the cut, really.
No, I really enjoy Sprawlopolis, and I think it's got a lot of with the varied missions and the combinations you can have. I think it will keep us amused for quite a while.
Yeah, but I think I was sort of a bit put out by the fact that you could find it a lot cheaper. Like I think I saw it for about £7, but it wasn't in stock, so you can't include that price because you can't actually buy it now with the rules that we've done.
Yeah.
So because it's it's more than double that price, I begrudged adding it to my list because I'm a bit of a Scrooge.
We paid much less for our copy because it was printed, and even though we got it freshly printed, it was, and we've got all the expansions, so I don't know without those whether it would last long, but I really like Sprawlopolis. It's a really fun game, so I went for that reason.
I have included some dinosaurs.
Okay.
So I looked at several options. As I said earlier, I kind of had a look at the ultra tiny.
You can't afford Dinosaur World with this.
I can't afford Dinosaur World. I mean, it's only just come out, and it's a
and you haven't got ultra tiny. You've got tiny epic dinosaurs.
I looked at Draftosaurus, and it was only about £2 different than getting the Rawr right. So I've included that one, which was $21.49, which I think actually is quite a good price for a fun game.
That's cheaper than I thought it'd be.
Especially because it's quite new still.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be more than that. But I figured let's have some dinosaurs in my collection. $21.49.
On a similar logic, I looked for Rolling Realms, which we haven't played, but I think it looks really fun, and it would make me miss all the Stomar games that have vanished. But I couldn't find a copy in stock. So that seemed to be a similar price, but I couldn't find a copy. So I didn't go for that one. Instead, I went for Kingdomino Duel.
Okay.
Which was $4.95.
Right.
We've never played Kingdomino.
We haven't. I hear that the Origins one is where you start if you're only just jumping in on it now, but that's probably more because it's only just released.
So this was only $4.95. I went for cheap rather than necessarily great. I wanted volume. I wanted to start filling up our shelves again because they're looking a bit sad being all empty.
Okay. So I also added Jaws of the Lion.
Okay.
So, you might have just sort of guessed
I had.
from the
You
beginning.
did give the clues.
So
Did you find it for cheaper than $33.99?
I did, and I found it for the same price.
Okay.
But I was going to sort of interject that my choice at this point was, do I add Arnak in, which we love, but was more expensive at sort of around the sort of 44, 45 from memory pounds.
I thought there's a good chance you might just add Yado for.
Well, this is the problem
be
with
it.
this list. Like, I like the bigger games, and they're more than £100 for the one game. So I couldn't just add Yado. I couldn't just add Dwellings of Eldervale because they don't even come under the 100.
Yeah,
so
I thought-
it was tougher for me, this list.
Yeah, I thought I could just do Scythe and Gloomhaven and say that's it. We're fine now. But that was just would have been too much. I think just those two.
Yeah, I mean, I did try to. I was thinking if I was left with no games at all, then probably I'm going to maybe want a little bit of variety. So I did almost add like just 2 games or just 3 games. And I thought we'll try and add a couple more just so we've got some options to play with because no games at all.
No, but it's nice we're on the same page and both wanted to sit down and play Gloomhaven.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's fun. And for that price, like $33.99, you're getting quite a lot of gameplay for that. And the kind of style of gaming, which I prefer, the more sort of in-depth thing. And arguably, I prefer Arnak as a game and want to revisit it more often, but that one made the list.
If we couldn't include our favourite games because of the price limitation, I have gone for Pandemic Hot Zone North America. I really like the Pandemic games. I think they're great. This isn't the best Pandemic game because it's half a Pandemic.
Okay,
You
I
only
haven't played this one.
many less viruses to deal with. It's either 3 or 2. It's a smaller board, and it's designed to be a lot quicker. Although I don't think base Pandemic takes too long anyway. It's less than an hour per game. But for £8.90, it's currently on sale.
Okay, I mean for $8.90, I'd definitely play it. Yeah.
It may you just miss proper Pandemic and the legacy games, but I really like the Pandemic games. So for less than a tenner, I thought, that's a tenth of the budget. So why not?
Okay, yeah. So the last game that I have, because somehow I've managed to not fit in as many as you. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. I think you've gone for quality rather than quantity there.
Yeah, well, apart from I bought you a present with the last one.
Oh,
I know,
that's
I'm
kind.
so sweet. So I knew that you had talked about Boomerang.
Yes.
So the Australian version, because if you're going to call a game Boomerang, I need the Australian version and not the European version, even though I live in Europe. And the whole idea of being somewhere hotter, sunnier, lovelier than here, the Australian version is the one for me. So you've got that version for $10.99 as a present.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so that's completed my £100.
Oh,
Well, it has come to £98.84.
I haven't even considered Boomerang, but they look good.
I'm not really sure what happens because to be honest, I haven't really looked into them. I just know that
Just
it's something
vaguely remember I said it's a good game.
you had sort of fleeted about on the sort of Christmas list potentials and things like
it's
that.
a Scott Elms game. It's a roll and write. So I like the Scott Elms games generally. Well, I like the Tiny Epic games particularly.
I like Australia, so.
Yeah. So I have a few more.
Okay, how many more?
I have another 4 more.
Oh gosh. Okay, you've
One
done
of these-
better at this than I have.
One of these might involve us taking a trip to Bognor Regis. Which,
because of the no postage, I don't know if we mentioned we haven't added any.
No, so
postage
it's all without postage.
onto this. This is just the straight game price. There's been no postage
Yeah.
included. So is that why you're talking about going to Bognor Regis?
I wanted to get Fluff because
Okay, yeah, I mean, we have Fluff and we have got it for quite cheap.
well, that's the same price.
It's £1. Wow!
I found it for £1. It's in the pound shop we have here called Poundland, and the only stock that has it still, because it's not near us, and we bought every copy in the area.
It's in Bognor Regis.
It's in Bognor Regis, so we need to jump in the car to drive just to Bognor Regis,
And we'll just sort of forget about the petrol price.
yeah,
Okay.
that's not factored in.
Right.
to go and Bognor is a bit of a trek for us. It really wouldn't be somewhere we'd go to buy a £1 game, but it's my list.
Okay, yeah. I mean, to be fair, we did play it this Christmas with family. It's great if you don't know what it is. You have like a cup with 5 dice in it. You give it a nice little shake, and you have to guess then what number of dice there is in the whole group that are playing.
Yeah, so it's liar's dice with a slight variation on the rules. And it's not great for 2. It doesn't really work for 2 people. We'd have to play 2 cups for it to work.
But whenever anyone comes round and they're not gamers, but you just want to do a little bit of something, then it's always gone down pretty well.
Yeah. So if you have friends over in this board game apocalypse and they notice our empty shelves, you go, don't worry, we've still got Fluff. And I think that'd keep most of them happy, to be honest.
Not me.
They wouldn't notice the lack of the games. They just go, oh, you've got Fluff. Great, let's play that. I didn't want to live in a world without a Back to the Future game.
Of course you didn't.
So,
oh my gosh.
I found a Back to the Future one. It's not the best one. You lay out cards and you have to organise a track for the DeLorean to pass along.
Sort of middle ground of Back to the Future.
But I found this for £6 in a toy shop.
Fine.
So, yeah, I have now a Back to the Future game. So the world is okay, slightly. And while I'm in that toy shop, I'm going to pick up a copy of Monopoly Deal.
Are you? Oh gosh, that's what I consider a pub game. But I don't mind if the cards get beer on them.
Monopoly obviously isn't the best game. Not many tabletop fans or board game fans who've played games beyond Cluedo, Scrabble and Monopoly would say it's a good game. There's lots of flaws with Monopoly, but this is a good version of Monopoly. It's
certainly better. It's quicker. It cuts out a lot of the issues that Monopoly, the sort of traditional big board, has, and it's quite fun for people that don't normally game to sort of get into that idea of the card play of it. Yeah. And for a £5, I suppose.
Well, I was there getting Back to the Future, so I might as well put, it's an impulse buy by the checkout. So obviously I've got a few card games here. Okay. So I don't know if this is a terrible suggestion, but the cheapest deck of cards I could find was £1.39 on Amazon, and that's thousands of games.
I mean, I nearly had enough for that in the budget that I've got left.
You had
probably only a few pence away of adding that in.
So we could buy a deck of cards, and I thought what we could do was we could play like the Mind with it. We can obviously play card games. You can play poker, but not that we tend to play any of these games. But we could learn. We could become really good at poker.
But I mean, you can't buy another board game for $1.39, so you may as well have chucked a pack of cards to be able to entertain us there. Okay. So I mean, it's not quite.
It's not a board game.
I feel like it's not quite in the rules, but it's not in the rules. So I'll let that one slide, particularly because it's not like you could replace another game.
Not for £1.39. So it's either going to be that or buying some novelty meeples.
And so that's taken your budget.
My budget is, so in total I've spent £99.89.
And you've got how many games for that?
I've got 10 games, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 10 games for £99.89. So that works at an average of £9.89. 6
games.
So between us, we've got one overlap. Was it 2?
2 overlaps. We overlapped on George of the Line and the Galaxies.
Okay.
Ultra tiny epic Galaxies. Yes.
So 14 new games to replenish our shelves with. I think we've covered quite a good cross section of games.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have variety. I mean, obviously, we'd have to take someone's copies back, and then we'd be able to buy new things. And I think that's enough to buy Arnak. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
I've got 7.
And your grand total was
84.
Yeah. Well, I think that was efficient use of £200. We probably should have talked about it.
Next year, if we do this again, I think I'm going to need to do it pre-Christmas or like around Black Friday sale or something, because there were so many options that were there, but then we weren't in stock, so I couldn't add things in.
So some of the things I had seen pre-Christmas are now not available, which would have been cheaper.
Yeah.
But yeah, I clearly went for quantity to keep us amused. Although Gloomhaven is, and but there's a lot of card games. See, obviously, without components, card games are cheaper.
They're cheaper. Yeah.
So I went for what I thought was hopefully card games with a bit of bite, a bit of juice to them.
Yeah. Whereas I think I tried to go with more of like, I tried to have bigger games on, which is why I didn't get so much for my money. But
the shelves are still looking a bit better, even 14 games. But anyway, so thank you so much to Jeff and Jamie for giving us this idea.
they are yet another couple that like to board game, so do go over to their channel and subscribe to them for lots of fun chats about board games.
Yeah, and while you're subscribing to them, subscribe to us if you've enjoyed this, give it a like, and also tell us if you would have chosen different games. Remember, we are spending £100 and not $100, so that might affect what you can buy.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to hear all of your choices. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.